Ahoy, Buccaneer, Buckaholics, and Scallywags. You are on another episode of the Plunder pregame show live, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are traveling to the Detroit Lions to take them on in a week 2 rematch of our postseason defeat. So check us out after this break. It's going to be fire.
All hands, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die.
Welcome aboard the Black Pearl.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week 2 of the season. We're doing the pregame show with my producer right next to me, BucDad. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing good. Look,
You
get
excited about today?
week. Hell yeah, bro. Week 2, rematch against the Lions, and then we go to the hospital, bro. It's baby day.
Woo, it's baby day. We're going to have a victory Monday, baby. I'm calling it right
I was
now
about to
because I
say,
don't
man,
see
hey,
it.
win or loss, bro. No matter what, it's Victory Monday tomorrow.
Without a question, baby. Without a question. I'm super excited for you. This has been a long journey for you. I've watched you, prepare yourself mentally, and, it hasn't faded you. That baby's in great hands, and I can't wait to see that little thing.
Bro, that's gonna be dope. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into it, guys. Check it out. This is week 2, and we're facing the Detroit Lions, and the Detroit Lions are a formidable foe now. Let me back up a little bit and go ahead and give a shout out. Today, just so everybody knows, we're both live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, but we are live at Riveters in Tampa off of Dale Mavericks, where they're having a Buccaneer watch party. So if you're in Tampa, get your asses down here and join the crew so we can raise the flag to be ready to fire the motherfucking cannons. Because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going in Detroit into Motor City. We're going to do an oil change on that shit, and we're going to come out a little better. So check it out. This is what I want to go over first because this is really going to be impactful. The offense, I'm not really stressed about. Last week, we saw the Detroit Lions go up against the LA Rams. And let's be fair, the Rams were very shorthanded, as are we, just very similar going into week 2 last week. They took the Detroit Lions into overtime, and the Detroit Lions had to win it in overtime. Matthew Stafford was typical Matthew Stafford, to be fair. He was 34 of 49 for 317 yards with a touchdown and an interception. His rating wasn't that great, but look, that's actually a really good stat line, minus maybe the interception and not having a couple of more touchdowns for Stafford. But on the flip side, they ended up with a rushing touchdown as well. There wasn't a bunch of points scored in that, so that's 14 points, and you got 2 field goals. That's where the 26 points come from. Last week they ran for 18 yards. Well, Kyron Williams ran for 18 carries for 50 yards on him. He actually scored the touchdown. He really didn't have a great average per run. He only had 2.8 yards, which wasn't big. The team averaged 3.6 against the Rams last week. So that being said, I expect a lot better running game, even with the inactives we got, which is one of them is an offensive lineman. Let's go over those real quick. You've got Luke Goedeke. He's out. I want to say he had a rib injury. I can't remember what his injury was off the top of my head. We've got Antoine Winfield, who's out. We've got Josh Hayes, cornerback, who is out. That being said, speaking of cornerback, yesterday, Zion McCullum actually was cleared from concussion protocol. So we will have the number 1 and number 2 cornerbacks in the game. Keenan Isaac was brought in from free agency. He was let go by the Panthers. He spent all preseason with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he's like a plug and play type person for today, to be able to deal with the lack of Josh Hayes being in cornerback. For Antoine Winfield, we've got Christian Izien moving into the back with Jordan Whitehead. And I have zero doubts about Christian Izien being able to carry himself for a day. The guy's really quick. He's shifty. He's a dog as well, and he's already been in the system over a year. Cooper Kupp went 14 catches last week for 110 yards, and I say that because he's going to be their main target because this week Puka Nacua is also out for the Rams, which is a huge blow for the Rams. He's actually suspected to be out potentially 4 to 6 weeks with his injuries. But going back to the Buccaneers, we've got Kalijah Cansey out again. We've got a few inactives in Devin Culp, Ben Still, and then Devin Culp, the tight end. So we've got 7 players inactive today. 4 of them are injured. So it's the next man up mentality. And for the Buccaneers, I don't see any problem with that. Next week or last week, Baker Mayfield actually played well enough to become the FedEx Air Player of the Week. And as far as I'm concerned, he was the best quarterback on the field for for an NFL team last week. He shined. He threw over 250 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and made numerous scrambles outside of the pocket in order to evade a tackle, lose yards, lose a sack, lose the ball, and actually gain yards every time he did that. So I'm super stoked. Now, from the defensive side, we've really got to pay attention because at any moment, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs can get off on you. They actually ran for 28 rushes total for 131 yards total. They had 1 touchdown apiece, 2 touchdowns total. The team ran for 163 yards last week. That doesn't necessarily bode well because with the loss of Logan Hall last week, as well as Kalijah Cansey, it really showed that our run game actually struggled a little bit. But with the second half play of Servassier Dennis in there, which his strength is more along in the pass coverage and KJ Britt's is more along in the run, I expect to see a little bit more of KJ Britt today as far as the run game goes. I hope he has a better game than he did last week. He kind of struggled a little bit last week as far as protect. The whole defense actually struggled last week against the run. I want to shout out somebody, Misador, a great buddy of ours, a friend of the show, actually gave us a shout out today. And I want to do the same for him because I've watched his show multiple times. I'm a big fan of his. I actually love his content, and he gives a great perspective. So, Misador, this is for you, brother. Y'all go check out the Roundtable Crew with Misador every Sunday mornings. Don't forget to check that out.
I was gonna say, I didn't realize he was the one that actually ran the crew roundtable now.
Yeah, he's the one
Hell
that
yeah.
runs it. We
Hell
had
yeah.
a talk last week, and he says, "Hey, brother, I gave you a shout out this morning. I wasn't able to watch this morning. I was busy."
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've dealt with. I've been friends with me since my early Bucks life days, and man, he's always been a huge supporter.
Oh yeah, and look, he's got a great perspective. He don't feed you a bunch of bullshit as far as just somebody wanting to get attention on a live. He actually brings good content to the table, so that's a huge plus. Um, Now, as far as going back to the Buccaneers and their defense, the secondary is banged up without a question. We've got a cornerback out, we've got a safety out. Tyke Smith actually didn't practice yesterday, but is expected to play, and he's going to be very pivotal because he's what number 1 or number 2 nickel on defense. I think he's number 1, our nickel cornerback. And look, last week, like I said, Matthew Stafford did his business um, last week, but who does their business this week is Jamison Williams. Jamison Williams is probably the top cornerback outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown did not have a big day last week. He only had 3 catches for 13 yards, but Jamison Williams went off. Excuse me, my phone's moving. My fault, guys. Jamison Williams actually went off last week. He went off. He went 5 catches for 121 yards and a touchdown, averaged 24 yards a catch. Dude was everywhere. So I expect a lot of pressure on that secondary from Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff didn't play horrible last week. He went 18 for 28 for 217 yards with a touchdown and an interception. Now that we've got a few stats out of the way, we don't even talk about the Buccaneers because they shine. Baker Mayfield threw his game out of the proportion yesterday. Last week. He went crazy. He actually I looked at the stats over the week of all of your major quarterbacks and most of your quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield was the baddest fucking quarterback on grass or turf last week. There's no doubt about it. So I'm expecting him to carry that momentum into week 2. Our offense should be playing on form outside of missing Luke Goedeke, which I think that might help or hinder the run game more than the pass, I believe. Because, look, Baker is not a mobile quarterback, but Baker's very capable to escape issues in the pocket. Baker Mayfield last week, I counted four pressure scrambles. He escaped a sack 4 times last week and ended up gaining yards, like decent yards, as opposed to just barely getting out of the pocket and getting caught for a sack. Sam Laporta had 4 catches for the Detroit Lions last week for 45 yards. And with the linebackers, that's going to be a big thing, as well as the safeties, because those are the typically the players with the responsibilities of a tight end. So we've really got to be on point for that. BucDad, what are you looking for in today's game on offense?
Consistency. Wanting to see that we can do the same thing we did last week. And like I was mentioning to Jay in the comments above, if we can be consistent in what we did last week on offense, which is on the establish the ground game. And I mean, I feel we did fairly well in that aspect. But in the same tone, we got that air attack. We were smart. 4 TDs, bro. No turnovers. I had said that in the post game. That was the biggest stat. Baker did not turn the ball over, bro.
We didn't, as a team, we didn't. There was only 1 turnover in the game.
Yeah, we had 1 turnover in the game, and it was
that was late in the game.
Again,
I mean, both teams did really well. Both teams did really well last week holding on to the ball. That was a very, very impressive thing that I've noticed from last week, especially a week 1 game.
Yeah, and again, moving forward, when it comes to this week, I want to be able to see the same thing, man. Establish that ground game. I'm looking at it right now. The Lions rush defense is 21st in the league as of right now.
Yeah.
If we can establish that ground game, bro, I believe we'll be just fine. You know, we set that tone early, and then we can attack that pass defense. That pass defense now includes none other than Carlton, Vernon, Hargrave, Davis III.
Look, speaking of CD3, let's talk about a little bulletin board material. Earlier this week, reports came out that some of the secondary, as for the Detroit Lions, came out and was talked about, was talking to reporters, and it was said that Carlton Davis really took his time, who is actually known to be a quiet guy, and that's known from his playing days here in Tampa. He did his talking on the field when he did talk most of the time. He wasn't a very boisterous guy. He wasn't a guy with a huge ego. But they said he spoke up for a while and really tried to break down.
Hang on. He didn't speak up? He wasn't outspoken?
No.
Who began the Gravediggers?
Who began the Gravediggers? That was Carlton Davis.
Okay. And who began this whole aspect the 2 times that he didn't get burned?
Only 2? Wait, there was only 2?
The man would do this when a quarterback would overthrow the receiver.
Yeah, that was funny.
And we'll talk about it, bro.
Fair enough. Let's talk about it.
So, who do you think CD3's got the balls to line up against today? Is it Mike?
To be honest with you, he better.
Is it Chris? Or is he gonna take the easy way out and think that he ain't gonna get burnt by Jalen McMillan?
He can't keep up with Jalen McMillan.
So who we going with? Mike's the only one I feel got the speed to contain with, but Mike's gonna body the brakes out of him.
He's in a down position regardless, bro. Chris, let me say this, bro. Chris, even with
2 knee injuries. It's still faster than Carlton. And McMillan?
Oh, he's a burner.
Enough said.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you
Like,
mentioned, like Mike Evans is truly going to body him up. But look, you watch it on social media this week. Baker Evans made it fucking clear. If they don't double him, he's throwing the ball to Mike. And I promise you, that's not week one. That's not week two. That's every fucking week of the season, guys.
I mean,
If they
hey,
don't go out there and double and game plan for Mike Evans to take him out of the game, that's
look,
fine. Do
man,
that.
28 TDs last year, and 13 of them went to Mike. So damn near half of
Do the
Baker's
math.
TDs last season were in the hands of Mike Evans. 2 out of
Absolutely.
the 4 last week were in the hands of Mike Evans.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we're already off to a pretty good start that, half of this shit is going to be in Mike's hands. And I feel good with it.
I do too. I mean, because you think about it, if they game plan to take out Mike Evans, what do you got left? You got Chris Godwin, you got Trey Palmer, you got Jalen McMillan, excuse me, and then you got Kate Otten, you got Payne Durham, you got Rashad White out of the backfield, you got Bucky Irvin potentially coming out of the backfield. But look, I actually like the formula that the Buccaneers brought in the run game last week. I wasn't disappointed at Rashad White's play. If you go back and look at the stats, he almost got 80 yards in receiving last week to go with his 20-something to 30-something yards on the ground. So he played a fairly complete game. He was just more productive in the pass game. Now, that being said, you got another running back who comes in and runs 60 yards. Okay, so that's a good supplement. So I don't have any – oh, man. Sorry, I just got horrible fantasy news. But it's not Bucs, so we're not going to talk about it.
Oh, no, what's so horrible fantasy news? Mr. Bucket got
Brown's
lucky
out.
last week.
AJ Brown's out.
Oh, okay. Oh, it sounds like a fantasy problem for you, not me.
It's definitely a fantasy problem.
Now, I do have a fantasy problem that we need to talk real quick. Let's pause this Bucs real quick.
Okay.
What the fuck do what the fantasy owners like me and the Miami Dolphins as well? What do we do with Tua?
To me, if you're doing anything with Tua, you maybe keep him as a potential backup. If you got lucky and you got space on your roster, you could keep him as a third. For me, I'm dumping him into IR, getting another quarterback, and pretty much all but alleviating him for right now. Because I mean, now look, we're gonna steer away from football and go towards the medical. This guy has 3 concussions in a matter of 3.5 years, right?
2 years.
2 years, okay. Last year was his only season in the NFL he wasn't injured.
Yeah,
I mean,
and there were still, yeah, I wouldn't say concussion-wise, no.
Yeah. And he's still
but there was a couple games that he was banged out with a knee because I had him last year, too.
Yeah. My son actually drafted him, and that's one of the reasons that I won't touch Tua. As powerful as that offense is and as prolific as that offense can be, I won't touch Tua because of those injuries. That is a big time. Now, they're actually going with Skylar Thompson, and, he's a rookie. So you can't expect much, but do expect him to go out and get another quarterback. And the word on the street is a very familiar name of Ryan Tannehill. Now, somebody that I want,
I'd be all right. Hey, you know what, bro? I'd be all right with that.
I wouldn't have a problem signing Tannehill to come in and replace a quarterback, especially in a league where you've got 10 to 12.
Hang on, wait. Nah, bro. At Tannehill's age, his biggest downfall has always been he's had shoulder issues.
But if you're relying on Skylar Thompson but bringing in another quarterback, then obviously Tannehill is going to be more of a leadership role and a backup.
I would, if you're going to run with Skylar Thompson, Tannehill's got to be your backup to him.
Absolutely, that would be the smart play from Mike McDaniels and the Miami Dolphins without a question. Now, speaking
unless
of
you're going to talk to Ryan Fitzpatrick,
dude, Fitzmagic baby can shine anywhere. I don't care where he plays. Fitzmagic can bring out the shine anywhere. As far as talking about fantasy today, I actually expect Chris Godwin to lead the way in fantasy points and stats today. I think Chris Godwin over the middle of that field is going to be a huge key component to the passing game. I expect 43 total points. In my opinion, 26-17, Tampa Bay wins. That's my prediction for the game. I've got Tampa Bay winning 26-17.
Oh, okay. Damn, bro. You went from Chris Godwin in fantasy to predicting the game, and I'm like, when you said 46 points, I'm like, for Chris Godwin, that is insane.
Dude, hey, look.
Okay.
I'm in a league where he
hang on, because I'm going to clear your ADHD brain for a second. Take a breath. Take a breather. Your face is red. Let me talk to the people for a minute. Now, fantasy wise, I put it out earlier on Thursday, because the parlay are playing, or the Plunder not doing our show. I would start Chris Godwin this week because, like we had mentioned a few minutes earlier, Carlton Davis is on that defense.
And their secondary is not that good. No.
I mean, outside of Terry Arnold, bro,
and he's still got room to go.
Yeah, well, he's the lone upside, in my opinion. So I would believe he would go to see money because he's looking to prove himself.
They have safety help because I'm a big fan of Brian Branch as safety. I like him. I think he's going to be a good player. But Carlton Davis, to me, is a mid-level quarterback. I think he's probably a number 2 quarterback as opposed to a number 1 quarterback. In my opinion,
and that's the thing. Like with Brian Branch back there, he's going to have to cover and help Carlton more than anything. So that's going to leave Terry and Arnold with Mike Evans one-on-one a lot. And like Baker said, if they're going to one-on-one with Mike's going to get the ball. He's going to throw it Mike's way.
Well, listen, if he wants, think about it this way. We're running let's just say a 21 personnel, right? 2 wide receivers, 1 running back. That means you got 2 tight ends in there, right? One of those safeties are going to shift over to Mike's side of the field. And guess who that other safety's covering? The linebacker or the tight end. Then your linebacker's covering. So basically, you've got man coverage pretty much on most of those other skilled players to be able to catch the ball in the pass game. I really believe that the pass game is going to excel again this week and be the catalyst for the Buccaneers winning.
And like Vernon says, last week, bro, the Rams had 1 wide receiver deep into that game, and it was Cooper Kupp. Of course. Yes. We legit have 3.
Yeah.
You got Mike, Chris, and Jalen McMillan seems to be that type of dude.
Yes.
I mean, granted, he had one team. He had
Trey Palmer had.
No. Palmer, if he can continue to grow, bro, is going to be that Scotty Miller for us.
I think. Look, I said this weeks ago. I believe that the play of Jalen McMillan, even at the number 3 wide receiver, is going to help Trey Palmer better his game. I believe that kid because he's a dog, he's a fighter, and he's a very huge competitor. So I think that's even going to the wide receiver room is in great hands right now for Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Agreed. And again, you got 3 wide receivers deep into that game, and like Vernon even pointing out right now, 93% of the Lions' defensive schemes are man coverage.
Man coverage. Yep.
And Carlton does have that issue with it.
Yes. Yes.
I will.
He was burnt literally, and let's be fair to him. Like, I'm going to say he was burnt probably 35 to 40% of his plays. And that's not good. That's not good at all.
I mean, I'm just gonna tell you, look back at that Houston game against the Bucs last year.
Wow, that was bad.
You gave up the booty 3 times.
Bad. That was a bad game. That was his. I think that game in itself was probably Carlton Davis's worst game, and that
Go
game
look.
solidified the ending to Carlton Davis's
Go
Tampa
look
Bay.
at the Bucs pass defense in the last 3 years post Super Bowl. Super Bowl run, bro, with Carlton Davis's best time.
Yes.
That was his best season. After that, it was a slow decline.
Yeah.
The
You're right.
following year, he wasn't. I mean, he wasn't horrible. He was still the playmaker, but he was still getting burnt.
Yeah.
And then you
Well,
go to last season.
let's talk about it. Last week, Chris Godwin had 8 catches for 83 yards. He led the Bucs. Mike Evans only had 5 catches. 2 of them were touchdowns. But again, Mike Evans is the kind of guy that you're going to typically get him the ball 15 to 30 yards down the field, as opposed to your short intermediate routes or your crossing routes or your routes over the middle, which is a big part of why, Mike Evans, or excuse me, Chris Godwin having the I think he's going to explode with receptions this year. I think he's going to contend with the league to be one of the leaders in reception catches this year. And with Chris Godwin, you go on the ball 99% of the time he's going to catch it. Rashad White actually had 6 catches out of the backfield, like I said earlier, for 75 yards. Jalen McMillan had that 1 catch, which was a touchdown for 32 yards. So we had a total of 289 passing yards on 24 passes and 4 touchdowns. So again, I really believe in somebody I believe who's going to have to step up this week. And he's got a tough challenge because the Detroit Lions linebacker core is actually a very good core. That's probably my favorite portion of their defense. Jack Campbell's a phenomenal middle linebacker. Alex Anzalone is a hell of a cat. We faced him many times when he played for the New Orleans Saints. So I really hope either Cade Otton or Payne Durham can really make a dent in the offense from the perspective of the Buccaneers today. So be a lookout on the tight end room. Now that being said, what do you got for the predictions for today's game, brother? We're about out of time.
Well, like everybody's saying, bro, it's gonna be a high scoring game.
Yeah.
I have the Bucs being like edging the lines out 33-30.
33-30. Okay. Okay. That's a high scoring game. Yes, sir.
Oh, it's gonna be a high scoring game, and especially with the exposure in both pass defenses, you're
Yeah.
gonna see it today.
Well,
But I'm
hey,
looking at the Bucs. I got the
I don't
Bucs
mind
going
being
2-0
wrong.
to start the season.
And that's huge. Look, coming into the season, we both actually predicted this to be a game we lost. Um, this was a sketchy game, but after watching the preseason, seeing the way the team was working, watching the way everything was happening, and even with the injuries, I still 100% have complete faith. Especially like I would have really, I wouldn't have changed my mind, but I would have really been a lot more nervous about today's game with Zion McCullough out. But with Zion McCullough in, I feel a little bit more confident in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And again, I predict a 26-17 win. So that being said, anybody out there, you want to drop your predictions in the comments? I'll follow up with you after the game. I'll even ask you I'll probably follow up during the game and figure out what you were talking about and what you think is going to be it. Now, I will not be doing a post game show today, but I will be doing a post game wrap up. You can find all game day content on the Plunder's Crew group page. That's where all the game day content is going to be. So if you want to keep watching the pregame shows, the postgame shows, and any game day content where I literally make play-by-play announcements on the page, big plays, I'll immediately go and post it. I'm not at the game, especially this week, because I didn't travel to Detroit. I've been traveling Tampa. If you catch my drift, fuck that knows what I'm saying. But hey, everybody, fire the cannons. Get your hot dogs ready. Get your burgers ready. Get your pizza ordered. Get the liquor lined up and put in the freezer and cooled off because it's game day, motherfuckers, and the crew's gonna go. I appreciate everybody for watching in. BucDad, God bless you and your family tonight. We're looking out for you and everybody
Yes,
in the
sir.
crew's thinking about you. And Till then, we will see you Thursday night for an episode of the Plunder going into week 3. Love it and leave it, baby. Go Bucs.
I got a job to do.